Okay.
All right.
Sup, everybody? Look who we got. This is spontaneous, so we are live right now, just so you guys know. Steve, and I'm still kind of getting stuff ready. Dude! Oh, hang on. Finally, something positive for Maryland sports. What is going on?
You guys are jacked up.
I mean, basketball with the Derek Queen stuff, the loss to Davidson, Maryland loses 4 straight games. Steve, we did it. We did it.
Bowl eligible. It wasn't pretty.
Was not pretty.
But you got it done.
4 turnovers each, right?
No, 5 turnovers Nebraska, 3 for Maryland.
Oh, okay. I mean,
so it was just giving gifts to each team who wanted to take it. Maryland just shooting themselves in the foot there in that early in the second half. There's no reason just to have those mistakes, but I mean, it's a nice environment up here. The crowd's crazy too, so it's a tough place to come in and win. And I kind of said at the end of my broadcast, I don't care if you turn the ball over 20 times. At some point, it just turns into just win. I don't care how it happens.
Hey, Steve, I got a quick question. What was it, end of the first half? Corey Dyches catches that pass. He gets hit when he's down late. What was going on there? I mean, like, it looked awful. And the fact that Maryland ends up getting called for a penalty there was insane.
Yeah, that's a tough break for sure. I don't think that should have been called. Man, I didn't want to be one of those homers where the woe is me kind of attitude, but it started to seem like there was some home cooking that they were not going to throw a penalty on Nebraska no matter what. I'm sorry if you can't hear me very well. I'm walking through the
can.
We can hear you just fine. That play, not only should it not have been a penalty on Maryland, their defensive back hit Dyches in the back of the helmet to helmet. It should have been with him. That was a 30-yard difference. That was Maryland probably a field goal.
Field goal, yep.
Absolutely, yeah. They were going to kick a field goal there for sure. I mean, it's 10 penalties to 1 penalty, but there was no more critical penalty than that Nebraska pass interference there on 3rd and 10 when Maryland's trying to make that drive to go win the game. So,
hey, Steve, quick question. Maryland has 0 rushing yards at halftime.
Yeah.
What was the change? What happened in the second half? Get some.
I think they finally I think they just caught them off guard a couple times because you just abandon the run game at that point. Nebraska just thinks that you're going to abandon the run game as well, and then you get lucky and you catch 1 or 2. And Ty Robinson, their big D tackle in that last drive, he had to go out of the game for a little bit to get some rest, and that's when Henry busted off that 22-yarder. So they took advantage of him when he had to go to the sideline, which was great. And then Leah had a good scramble, so you can't really factor that into the rushing yards. I don't really count those as standard runs when Leah scrambles for it, but timely, effective runs. And you know, there's a lot that goes into having a game-winning drive. So things got to go right. You got to have poise, and they did it. So credit to them, man. And now I'm about to board a bus and fly a plane with a smile on my face for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, they had 0 rushing yards for like 3 quarters, didn't they? And then 100 plus whatever it was in the last quarter there.
The guys had 2 picks today. Tarheeb still right here, a little live.
There he is. Oh, Tarheeb! Yes, baby. Yeah, baby.
Having a good day. Him and his buddy Dante Chernigan too. Turnover City. All right, gentlemen, I'm going to run.
Okay, thank you for joining us, Steve. Awesome.
Safe travels.
Terps. We'll see you at the bowl game. Actually, we'll see you next week for Michigan. We'll be up there in the suite, so we'll say hi. And he just hung up on me. So,
well, but man,
we will be up in the suite. We'll say hi to him.
How awesome was that he hopped on just like that? That's awesome.
Yeah,
dude, insane game though. And like, you know, what I'm wondering, you know, when you're looking at the final stats, Maryland's outgaining them by almost 100 yards. You know, they win the turnover battle, all those things. Actually, they outgained them by more than 100. Is Nebraska's offense just that bad, or did Maryland's defense finally play better?
I think Nebraska's that bad. Like every game they have is like that. What was the score to the Michigan State game they had last week? Like 17-14, something very similar.
Yeah.
Just
269 total yards. 269 total yards for Nebraska.
They just have the worst quarterbacks in the Power 5, I think, man.
Yeah, rolling out all three.
It's bad. And even the first guy, I forget his name right now, begins with an H.
Sims. Well, Sims was out first.
No, the first guy was no, it was the other guy.
They had Harburg.
Yes.
Yeah,
whatever. I can't remember his name right now. Sorry, I don't have anything in front of me. But he wasn't turning it over, at least for them, or he did once, I guess, actually.
Well, here's his stat line: 1 of 5 for 0 yards and 1 interception. I wonder what his passer rating is on a 1 of 5 day for 0 yards and a pick.
Can you be negative?
It must be, right?
Antoine Cuff said is just H guy, so that's what we're going to call him, H guy. And then Sims came in, and man, my God, is that guy bad?
Well, look,
Jesus.
Remember at the beginning of the year when the first game of the Nebraska's back and Sims is going to do it, throwing picks, 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a fumble today. So just continuing his horrific season. But hey, a W is a W, right?
Bowl eligible baby is what I meant to say. Thank God. Like, it really felt like they weren't going to lose out. It felt like it. It really did, because on the road at Nebraska is not easy. Rutgers is playing well. You know how badly they're going to want to win that last game, and do they have a shot at all next week? Probably not. So
I don't know if you saw at the end of the Michigan game, whoever their sideline coach is now, because right, Harbaugh's in a hotel. They interview him after they beat Penn State, and he just breaks down crying, and he's dropping F-bombs in the interview. And
oh, really?
I don't know. Are they going to come off? Is Michigan going to come in, off of a big high? Clearly, their game day coach is an emotional dude, and looking forward to Ohio State. Does Maryland finally get a trap game?
It is a big time trap game for Michigan.
Exactly.
When they've right in between Penn State and Ohio State.
Well, and especially this game. You should see. The after the interviews, the post game field interviews and stuff with the Michigan coach and players. We're doing it for you, Harbs. The crying. The whole thing. It was wild.
Well, that's what you got to do in that situation, right? When it's definitely an us against the world feel for them, and in one of the few cases where it's probably deserved, because it really is everybody piling on them.
Well, deservedly so, I think. But was there due process followed? All that nonsense, right? But
yeah. Everybody might notice that it's not the normal crew today for IMS Radio. Jeff is currently working. He's writing and doing his post-game stuff. Paul really badly wanted to join us, but couldn't. He had a prior engagement, but he did send us a little message. Let's hear from Paul here.
Can't hear him, Larry.
Can't hear him?
No.
All right. Okay. Well, I could hear him.
What did he say?
He said, hey, congrats, everybody. I apologize. I'm not able to be there. He had a previous engagement. Let's go Terps, go bowling. See you guys in Detroit or wherever. That's what he said. All right. Well, this was a spontaneous show. I didn't have time to test anything in advance. I don't know why you couldn't hear it.
Maybe it was just me. I didn't hear it. Maybe it came through for others on the stream.
I don't know. Guys in the chat, tell me if you could hear it. I'm not sure. Well, yeah, Antoine says Paul needs to keep betting against Maryland. He did bet against. Oh, so maybe you did hear it, because last week he made a big deal about how he bet an uncomfortable amount of money and on Nebraska, so therefore he guaranteed the Terps win. And
they covered. I mean, 2.5 point. They were 2.5 point favorites.
Yeah, they even covered
in Memorial, and they covered.
They
on
covered
the field goal. Okay, hold on. The other thing we gotta look. I mean, I was joking around before the game on in one of the threads about, if a game happens on Peacock that no one watches, does the game really matter? Well, yes, and now we know it does. But the camera angle on the field goal, on the game-winning field goal, it looked like it got blocked because the camera jumped down. I was like, oh my God, it got blocked.
That's what I thought too when I first saw it. It was like, you got to be kidding me.
I thought so too.
Many ways?
Because then you saw like the Nebraska players were like tumbling towards the holder, so it looked like some kind of scrum. That was wild.
Yeah, we're waiting for Jeff to post this link. He's like so busy, he's like ignoring me. So we have a
well, I mean, geez, after the last few days, Larry, I'm surprised he's even I'm surprised he's even conscious.
Listen, during the game, our chat, the three of us, I was the one melting down. Like I was like, they're breaking me, like literally breaking me. Like I can't take this anymore. The self-inflicted wounds, the penalties. Oh my God, the pre-snap penalties.
Yeah, hold on, let me check the. I know
how can you do that?
They had 7 penalties in the first half, but I didn't see the final. I think they might have played a little better.
It was like 10 or 11. I should pull up the stats. I haven't even pulled up the stats.
I don't have penalties. They ended up with 10 for 92 yards. Nebraska only had 1 penalty at the very end there, that pass interference that played a huge role in getting
that was their only penalty, right?
Yeah, that was their only penalty. So, Maryland at least cleaned it up in the second half. They only had 3 penalties in the second half, but boy, how do you only have 1 penalty? How's only 1 penalty get called? That is pretty obscene.
Jeff wants me to post the link. Hey, Jesus Christ.
Man, Larry, I never see you flustered.
He wants me to freaking okay. I'm gonna go to the IMS radio Twitter. Am I gonna remember the right password?
I'm trying to get, so I'll just take Nebraska 5 turnovers. Sims is responsible for 3 of them. He throws 2 interceptions and the 1 fumble, the strip sack, the Darnell Brown. I think it was Darnell Brown. Maybe Brown recovered it. Maybe it was Bo Braid who forced it. But Sims 3 turnovers, and then their other 2 quarterbacks each throw a pick. So 5 total turnovers for Nebraska, which is just horrific.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember Steve Suter's Twitter. I can't remember his Twitter. Well, I'm trying to. Well, I'm not going to put his link in there.
And then the 2 fumbles? For us? Felton had one again, and then did Hemby? Did Hemby have one on a run play there? I think those were the 2 fumbles. Were Hemby?
Yeah. There was 1 interception.
Yeah.
I should probably open the stats because I was just like, it was like more than like, it was kind of an elation of relief more than like, because like really it felt like a month ago, 8-4 we're looking at least.
The Northwestern loss is totally inexcusable. I mean, totally inexcusable. There's how you lose that game is beyond me. But losing homecoming, to Illinois also. I mean, those 2 just right now, they should be 8-4 right now, or 8, whatever,
8-2.
Yeah. I mean, they should be 8-2 right now. And such a different season. You lose those 2 games to really, really bad teams. Last I saw, Indiana had tied up Illinois at 42 apiece. Let me see if I can. Let's see if that game is over.
NCAA football scores. Let's go to the Big Ten. I'm looking at CBS Sports.
So Illinois wins it. They went into overtime. Illinois won it in OT at home.
So Indiana they're 3-7. They're not getting to a bowl.
Now it's Rutgers, and Rutgers has a bye this week.
No, they're playing Iowa right now.
Oh, they're playing Iowa. Oh boy, talk about an ugly game. What an ugly game that's going to be, right?
Well, any uglier than the game Maryland just played? I mean,
what the game Iowa played last week was 7-7. I mean, it was setback football like 75 years. I mean,
well, maybe this one did too. It was pretty bad.
8 turnovers in a game. Hard to find that. Hard to ever watch a game at any level and see 8 turnovers between teams. That's
in that game. You know how the game threads go on the Maryland.247sports.com message board, and people just say the most irrational stuff, and you kind of get a pass in the game thread, right? Because anytime you're emotionally attached, you just start saying you overreact to everything, right? That was me during our chat today. I'm like, I lost it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then towards the end, Nebraska's going down, and I'm like, they're going to score. And it's over. And then they got the interception. And I was like, oh my God. And then they start driving. And I text Jeff and Paul, and I'm like, if they pull this out, we're going live, bowl eligible live post game, right? Like,
well, what Maryland, two of the interceptions they had, weren't they in the end zone? Didn't they have 2 interceptions in the end zone? If not, it was close. I could.
Yeah.
I think 2. I think maybe it was both the Tar-Heebs were in the end zone. I mean, like,
Antoine is saying that Bo Braid forced it. Okay. We're going to show this comment here because I think a lot of people are feeling this way from Antoine Cuff. The refs are horrible. We are bad with penalties, but it was 11 versus 18 most of the game. Yeah. And Steve Suter, who was just on with us, in case you guys missed it, he hopped on real quick, like walking from the stadium to the bus. So we got him for like 5 minutes, and that's it. He said the same thing. It felt like it was a lot of home cooking. And the big one for me, and there were a lot of examples, right before the half.
Yep.
That play, that should have been.
Well, so in the Northwestern game. Yeah, in the Northwestern game, Northwestern got called for that similar penalty where a Maryland receiver catches a pass, knees down, play comes in late. And it's the right call. I mean, the whistle blown, guy gets hit, he's down. And now you fast forward to this week, Dyches' knee was on the ground. Like there was someone laying on like one of his legs. He's down on the ground. And that player came in and hit him helmet to helmet.
That's the definition of targeting.
Defenseless player, crown contact to the neck or head, right? Using the crown of your helmet. And the refs were like, what?
He was looking right at it too.
Yeah.
Looking right at it. And then was it Booker who went like this to push him away from his guy?
Something like that.
One left-handed push, and he calls unnecessary roughness on that. And then the Nebraska guy he went like this.
It was definitely English Premier Soccer League worthy, flop. It was one of their linebackers, like number 4 or something.
Well, since we're on a Maryland Terrapin YouTube broadcast, podcast, whatever you want to call it, we'll say that it was a Duke Blue Devil level flop, not an EPL level flop.
Good catch there. Got to know the audience, right? You're good at that. I'm still getting better, Larry.
Yeah. So once again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Jeff is working. He might join us. I don't know. He's like, I'm texting and he's like, leave me alone. But I might get him. And Paul, unfortunately, had a prior engagement. He's out. Let's see, as he put it, hang on. He put it as, he said, I'm leaving for a shitty dinner. Sorry. Leaving for a shitty dinner. There you go. For a shitty dinner. Jeff is working, and I was just so excited. I was like, we got to do this. And I called my boy Wheels. You need hey, everybody in the chat, what should we give Wheels as his headline? Give some suggestions.
Oh no.
Jeez, for Wheels headline.
This is gonna get ugly. And you're assuming I'll be able to like change it, like I'll know how to change it, Larry. But
well, I know how to change it if you can't. So yeah.
No, I can only imagine what what some of those recommendations will be. So other Big Ten scores here. So again, Illinois is at 5-5 now. Their win from bowl eligibility. They beat Indiana in overtime. Indiana kicked a field goal on their first possession. Illinois scores a touchdown, so they win their game away from bowl eligibility. Michigan, Penn State. Michigan wins 24-15. Franklin went for a 2-point conversion early in the game, and everyone's like, why is he doing that? So they end up losing 24-15. Just very strange. Whoa.
Well, you got to I heard a little bit. You got a headline now. There you go.
Oh, boy. Hold on. That was weird. Bald head lacrosse dude. Solid.
Yeah. Antoine suggested substitute Paul. That's pretty good, too. We are going to do, not that anybody cares right at the moment, but we are going to do another lacrosse kickoff show sometime in January, right?
Yes, and I'm hoping trying to see if we can get a player this year. Coach Tillman was kind enough to join us last year, which was great having Tills on. John normally doesn't like to get to have his players. He doesn't have his players in front of the media. Unless totally necessary, he tends to want to keep them just focused on lacrosse.
So we are going to get one.
I'm going to try.
Heard it. Tony Wheels just promised us a lacrosse player and John Tillman for our kickoff show in January. You heard it here. I got to put up this comment right here. This is what everybody cares about.
Oh, Jesus.
From David Lawrence, what's happening with Derek Queen? David, I'm not sure if you're a subscriber to Maryland.247sports.com, but if you are not, my suggestion is to subscribe. Jeff is writing articles on this every day, and you will know exactly what's happening. Well, as much as Jeff knows, because there's a lot of ambiguity. That is my suggestion to you. Subscribe to Maryland.247sports.com, and you will know what's happening with Derek Queen. There you go.
After last night's game.
He said yes, he is subscribed. I can't give you much, David. I can't. Jeff's not here. I'm gonna let him know.
Can I offer a trade?
Go ahead.
Can we sign a 5-star 3-point shooter instead of a 5-star 6'10" center? Can we swap?
We need both.
Okay, but if I after last night's game, after last night's game, if I had a choice, could we get a 3-point shooter?
Really? I mean, once Reese is gone, you're going to maybe change your mind about that because
I don't know. Is it a chicken or an egg where, if you don't have a big, do you have to play, 4 out with someone in the post and spread the floor and shoot? And then at least that way you're not getting into 64-61 rock fights every game. I don't know. But it'd be nice to see have a good 3-point shooter.
I got a reply from Jeff about Derek Queen. David, don't say I never did anything for you. And he said he's upping his crystal ball to 10. Just kidding.
Larry,
I'm just kidding.
Another meltdown with that.
I know. I'm just kidding. That's not what he said. He wrote, LOL, nothing new since yesterday.
Dude, you're gonna jam Jeff up.
Oh, Jeff is gonna join. Hang on. No. I gotta send him the link. I gotta email him the link. Give me 1 second. Jeff is gonna join here. Composed to Jeff Herman. Oh no, that's YouTube. I gotta copy the link. There we go. StreamYard. Okay. Jeff is joining everybody. So there you go. If you guys want to ask about Derek Queen, stick around. You can ask about Derek Queen. Derek Queen update. In 5 minutes, now watch the numbers are going to go up.
I know.
The numbers are going to go.
Can't wait to see the look on Jeff's face when you ask him. You might have to scream grab that one. Just the look on his face when you ask him.
Yeah. Well, I already did ask him, and he said, "LOL, nothing new."
I know, but now you get him on camera and ask him. It'll be a great reaction.
Well, the other day, last week, Wednesday nights at 7, we do our show, and we had all this basketball stuff. We were talking about Dairy Queen. We finished that. We go to the non-revs report, and we were in triple digits the whole show. And it goes, went into the 70s like within a minute. I swear to God, it was hilarious.
At 2, Larry.
Yeah.
At 2.
That's what happened, man. That's
just because Paul's not here. Just because Paul's not here, you still have to take the shot.
Hey, I am the defender of the non-revs. If it weren't for me, there wouldn't be any non-revs talk at all.
I just give you.
I'm like, we do. Every show ends up being like an hour and 15, sometimes even up to an hour and a half. We can give 1 minute to non-revs. That's my theory on it. We can give 1 minute. Especially when everybody's happy. We just won. I keep saying we today because I'm a fan right now and I'm all emotional. So I keep saying we.
I mean, look, you say that there were 75 people for the non-rev report, and I'm like, yes, 75 people.
Down from we were in triple digits like for 20 minutes or whatever. And then we're like, all right, that's it for Dairy Queen. Here come the non-revs. Down. Yeah.
Somewhere Paul just felt that disturbance in the force and it made him smile.
I was just going to say disturbance in the force if you hadn't gotten there. Because I'm the nerd too, right?
Everyone else is like, what are these two guys talking about? But
no, everybody else knows. Jeff said 1 second, everybody. Jeff Ehrman will be joining us, just so you guys know. Jeff will be joining us. We're all here celebrating Maryland's victory over Nebraska.
Larry, can we talk?
God.
Can we talk about Peacock? Can we talk about Peacock?
Okay, go ahead. I have some thoughts too, but you go
first.
Yeah,
but I mean, look, all you cord cutters, I blame all you for all this. The fact that we now have to subscribe to like 87 gajillion different things. So yes, I'm an old guy shaking my fist, but man, I mean, like the production looked fine. Everything looked fine. It's just how many people do you think watched that game? I don't know.
Well,
what are your thoughts?
All 14 Maryland fans watched it. Us two, Jeff, Paul.
I don't know.
Antoine Cuff, I know he watched it.
Look, there were like 55 pages of the game thread. So, I mean,
I know. So, Seftical, okay, here we go. And I can't say he's wrong. Seftical says the game wasn't worthy of a better platform. You are right about that, my friend.
No, that is a very astute.
You are right about that, my friend.
Yes,
just to reiterate to you guys, Jeff Ehrman will be joining us in a few minutes. He's been writing, doing all his post-game stuff that he's got to do. And we can ask him about Dairy Queen.
All right. Well, so what are your thoughts on the Peacock platform?
The Peacock. They very clearly had a narrative built in about Nebraska. And they broadcast that entire game from a Nebraska gaze. Everything was about Matt Rule. It was about what Nebraska was doing. Maryland gets a big play, and they say, oh, you can't do that on the defense. You got to do this and this and this. Nebraska makes a big play, and it's like, oh, what a great run by Sims diving for the first down. And it felt like when, what's his name? The Penn State dude who does the Big Ten Network games whenever he calls Maryland. Why can't I think of his name right?
Matt Millen. Basketball?
Matt Millen.
Oh, yeah.
It felt like when Matt Millen does Maryland games and he completely calls it from the other team's point of view. Hey, guys, Jeff's joining us. Let's add him to the stage. And let's hope we have good audio with Jeff, too. How you doing, Jeff?
You caught me off guard with this. When stuff's all crooked, I'm just had to throw on.
No worries. I've been completely
hey, it's good reason at least, right? We don't have to hear all off season about how Locks started 5-0 and didn't make a bowl game, right?
If that happened, he was going to be on some serious hot seat.
Like who knew that Jeff was such a that the crookedness in the pictures bothered him to the point where he had to fix that.
When I was younger, I didn't really care, and I'm still not the most organized guy in the world. But like the OCD, as you get older, I feel like it's just an inevitable progression. But yeah, I mean, they gutted that one out. That was one of maybe the ugliest game I've watched all year.
So bad.
And the only difference was they had a quarterback, and Nebraska didn't have a quarterback, right? I mean, have you ever seen that many hand-delivered interceptions by one team? They barely had to move. I mean, they were like punts. They were catching them like punts, left and right.
Yeah. Talia threw a bad one as well.
Still can't get out of their own way. I mean, God. He threw one. Nebraska had 4 or 5. They just – you wonder maybe this gives them a little confidence, a little momentum going in. You know, nobody thinks they're going to beat Michigan, but, you know, they were – when a team gets to this point of a slump, you're pretty fragile mentally, as they clearly are. So, long story short, you know, I don't think it's going to take a lot for this season to, you know, fans to go into the offseason really enthusiastic or super positive, but they've avoided the disaster scenario that we've talked about.
We got an either or from the chat from David Lawrence. Here we go. Let's check this out. Uglier game, the football game or the men's basketball game? I'm going to say the men's basketball game because at least the football team won.
Yeah, if you take out the result, though, which one was uglier? I don't know.
It's the football game if you take out the result. That was
probably
the football team. The penalties, the self-inflicted stuff, the turnovers. Maryland even had 3. That's awful. I mean, it's overshadowed a little bit by Nebraska's 5, but still, 3 turnovers is still really bad. All the penalties, right?
Well, and Jeff, you tweeted something. You know, when Maryland goes forward on 4th, you know, like struggling running the ball all game. Second half, they did better running the ball, and they run a draw play to Littleton. You know, and you're just like, what? Again, play calling. I know it's like a Maryland pastime. I know it's like a college football pastime to like bash the offensive coordinator, but some of it just doesn't make any sense. Like if we know that things aren't going to work, you know, like running off tackle, not going to work. And yet there they go.
I don't know. It's like stop trying to make fetch a thing. Littleton is not a short yardage back. Dan Enos forced it all last year. Never seemed to work. Even on 3rd or 4th and 1, it was maybe 50% at best, probably worse than that. So I didn't get that, but there's been a lot of those this year. You know, you remember Ohio State, you had the Billy Edwards draw on 4th and 1 against Illinois, 3rd and 4, whatever it was, 3rd and 6 even maybe, with a chance to score a touchdown and win the game, and they ran the ball instead of throwing it there. It's almost like they trust Talia to make these crazy, you know, magician plays that he often makes, running around and finding somebody until you just need a yard or 2, and then they're scared to do it because naturally, if you're a football coach, you think run safe, pass bad, you know, on 3rd or 4th and 1. But you know, overall, they gutted it out. I mean, Nebraska's not a very good team. They're 5-4, so they're not a terrible team. Also, no matter how bad they look today, they're not necessarily really good. But
I think they always look like that, though.
They gutted it out, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's a hallmark. It's a feature, not a bug at this point, right? I mean, the penalties were outrageous anytime. And I did feel like, you know, I always hate to talk about the refs like this because I don't want – it's more of a fan thing. I don't want to sound like a homer, but, I mean, some of those calls were rough. I mean, they've earned a reputation now that's preceding them to where sometimes it seems like the refs are just hunting for penalties. There was a few of those. A Deitch's personal foul I thought was bogus. Yes. I don't understand what happened when they let that play run. When it was delay of game, they let the play run, and then you call delay of game after the play. I think Talia took a hit on that one too. So, and then
what did they call?
the turnover, obviously.
What did they call?
What
was the penalty?
Turnover.
Yeah, what was the penalty they called when Trader had another interception and he had 2, but he had a third one that was wiped out by a penalty, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it was holding on I think Kellen Wyatt.
Oh,
holding in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
I didn't see a replay of that, so I don't know how how legit that one was. And then the turnover, Ty Felton made a couple great plays early, and then he turns it over in a big spot again.
That's Ty every week, though, right?
Yeah, I think at some point, you gotta maybe give somebody else a shot there. I mean, he makes plays, but you just can't be coughing the ball up that much. So,
and you're not that much of a homer, Jeff, because Suter was on for about 5 minutes. You didn't see it. You were writing, but I texted him and I'm like, bowl eligible. And we're like, yeah. And it was like, we're spontaneous show. Join us. He said, send me right now. I sent him a link. He joined from his phone. He was walking from the stadium to the bus.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. And Tarheeb came up and they were both like waving into the camera stuff. It was pretty cool.
You're working out live. Well, I'm writing. You're working out live coverage from Lincoln via satellite. Amazing.
This is completely spontaneous. I'm completely unprepared. I have no stats.
I didn't know we were a streaming coverage network now. That's amazing.
That's what we're doing. But anyway, my point is, Steve said the same thing about I don't want to be a homer, but it seemed like there's a lot of home cooking in the officiating.
A ton of home cooking, and you could see Locke's just losing it. But at this point, he's used to it. The penalties, there were some bad calls, but overall, in the grand scheme, they're just not disciplined. Not a disciplined team. Too many personal fouls.
Yeah, and also, was it Prather who was wide open down the right side in the fourth quarter? Talia just overthrew him by 10 yards, and Prather dove for it. If he makes a good throw there, that's a touchdown.
It's an easy touchdown. Yeah, he's deep. That's what I keep saying. The deep ball never seems to hit. It's really, well, I shouldn't say never. They hit sometimes. For a quarterback as good as him, who has as many passing yards as he has, it's a very small amount of it is deep balls. He had the one to Felton for 52 yards, but otherwise, it seems like that deep ball is almost always overthrown.
Well, the Felton one, though, even with that, Jeff, it was still a little long that Felton couldn't keep his balance after. I mean, he's wide open, and on the money ball, he's still running.
Yeah, it's been ongoing for 2 years. He just he's really good, really accurate on short and medium, and I think as a freshman, from what I remember, he was pretty good on deep ball. But the past few years, it always seems to be a few yards long, but. Either way, you squeak out the win. Nobody's going to throw a parade, but you're avoiding maybe the most sour offseason in recent.
It was heading that way. A couple people we haven't talked about. I finally pulled up the stats here. Dante Trader. We haven't said anything about him. He had an awesome game. He had 3 picks. One of them called back on another one of the I don't know about that penalties. Ruben Hippolyte. I thought had a really good game, laying some lumber, had some tackles for loss. Like I can't, they don't have the defensive stats in here, so I don't know all of the details on that. But both of those guys, I thought were really.
Jones made some big plays.
Jason Jones.
What did he have?
Jason Jones, 5 receptions, 86 yards, and then Hemby. Back on track a little bit, right? 16 carries for 74 yards. When after 3 quarters, they have 0 rushing yards, almost 3 quarters, whatever it was. And then by the end, they got to 99.
Yeah.
That's shocking. Yeah, they wore Nebraska down. Either they wore them down or I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden at the end, Talia had that one long 22-yard scramble. Hemby had a couple long ones.
I just wish Talia, I don't know if it's a fear of rushing or if
well, I mean, it's like
coach.
It's like
coach not to do it.
No, it's like bubble wrap, man. If they could put him in bubble wrap, because I mean, look, if he goes down, Maryland's not winning if he does go down. But there were even last week.
So you think they're coaching him to never?
No,
run?
I think he doesn't want to get hit. But I think he also makes a lot of bad reads because there are a lot of bad reads. A lot of times he's handing the ball off on clear RPOs where he's got a chance to throw the ball or run it and doesn't want to run it.
And by the way, there's been other examples this year of the opposite where he should have let the running back take it and he keeps it.
Some of it is definitely, I'm sure some of it's coaching. I think a lot of it is he just doesn't like to get hit. I've said it a million times. He's a small guy.
He has gotten hurt.
His brother, he's gotten hurt before, and you can see it. And I think that's also why he's a little skittish in the pocket sometimes. He did that same thing I've said a million times. The rush came and he spun out to the left and he threw a pick that could not have been more identical to the one he threw at Ohio State. I mean, it was an exact replica, running to the left, throwing across your body into a crowd, had no chance. But survive and advance, I guess, right?
Well, they are going to advance to a bowl game, thank God. And so
there are a couple defensive stats up, at least on ESPN. So Tarheeb still 7 total tackles, 5 solo.
Nice.
The two interceptions for him, I think, right?
That's a huge. That's a Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week caliber type line. 2 interceptions, 7 tackles, 5 for loss.
Good. They needed that because he's been up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hippolyte, they've got at least preliminarily 6 total tackles, 4 of them solo. Jayshon Barham, 5 tackles, 4 solo. My sound is annoying. Sorry.
Because ESPN plays those.
Yeah, ESPN does the autoplay. It's annoying as hell.
I hate that. Hate it. Amongst other hateable things about ESPN. The only thing I watch on ESPN, honestly, anymore, well, if they have a game that I want to watch, is College Game Day. It's literally the only thing I watch. Like,
can't tell you the last time I watched College Game Day. I can't even tell you the last time I watched it.
I like that, and I like the Fox version of it. I mean, Fox, it's a complete ripoff of College Game Day, but that format works really well, and they're on campus, and so it's a lot of fun, just like Game Day is. And Fox is Maryland's network now, so I'm trying to support Maryland's network.
Jeff, I got a question for you, Jeff, because you're out in the heart of Big Ten country out there. Clearly, talk about stop trying to make fetch a thing. The fact that Michigan, Ohio State's going to be at that Fox big noon kickoff window. The fact that Michigan, Penn State today, noon kick. I get that Fox is trying to make that it's this untapped kind of space, right? But you can't tell me that that's not hurting ratings by having these huge games at noon. It's just such a terrible like time slot.
I don't think so. I thought the exact same thing. There's been a few times I've been like, wow, that's going to be the noon game, but that's be something. We'd have to ask a good question. John Oren would know. We'll have to ask him because I would think also maybe people are maybe viewers are around more at noon, and at 7 they're out.
I mean, clearly, I mean, it's clearly, CBS with the SEC has that 3:30 spot, that national highlight spot, and then ABC clearly has the 7:30 spot. So Fox was like, "Hey, let's do it at noon." But oh my God, like having these huge games, like meaningful games on at noon.
It's very.
I love noon games. Hey, and also, by the way, it was just announced that the Big Ten morning show is going to be at Maryland next week.
Yep. Big noon kickoff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they got to bring Erms. Cool. They got to bring Erms on as their Maryland guest analyst, Jeff. You got to try and make that happen.
I'll see what I can do, man. That would be awesome.
Back in the day,
I don't know if I have the cachet for that one, but
back in the day, I was boys with Dave Revson.
But that might get me on.
Dude, you got to make it happen. You got to get Jeff on there.
That's the great thing about Larry, though, and I have to go out because I got to write, but he really would go into it and say, like, I'm going to email Dave Revson, see if they'll have you on. Like I'm like too much of a pessimist side stuff. I'm just like 100 times less likely or more likely than that. I'm like, no, that's not happening. But Larry, so he, I'm sure right after this, he's going to text me and ask me if I can text Derek Queen and ask him if he'll announce live with us today.
Yeah, why not ask?
Speaking of Derek Queen,
is he announcing today, Jeff?
I don't know when he's announcing. This thing is dragging. My goodness, man.
All right, before you go, give everybody a little tidbit about Derek Queen.
I mean, it's very odd or surprising that after all this time, he's choosing to delay it. I'm not begrudging him that. It's the biggest decision of his life, worth a lot of money and so forth. But it's surprising because he's had the same schools to examine this whole time. He had the same schools during the past 3 weeks after he finished visits to sit down and think about. So obviously, if you're Maryland, that's not, the question is if you haven't convinced him by now. Usually, not always, because in this case, this could end up being an exception. But usually, if there's a guy you're recruiting hard, and right when everyone thinks he's going to announce, he says, "I'm going to hold off a while," you're not getting him. Like, you've had your chance. You spit your game, and it didn't work, especially when it's a hometown guy, and you had that built-in advantage and such. But there's a chance this. I mean, I'll just say this. There's people in the know, and I'm not talking about Maryland staffers who are biased, who still were yesterday saying, I still think it's Maryland. It's just the timing wasn't right or whatever. So obviously my job is get down to, why the timing wasn't right and where things will actually go from here. And I would think early next week, we start to gather some info on what's
why isn't the timing right when it was National Signing Day? That seems like the perfect
That's the
time.
question. That's the question. I mean, maybe there's I know that there was people in his circle with different opinions on where he should go. So there have been times where there was a disagreement between like central figures in a recruitment, and because they couldn't agree, they took a little bit more time. I've seen that happen before, so that's a possibility, but it could be one of a million things. He's not talking at all. His guy is Mookie Dobbins, the director of Team Thrill, who's his basically coach / mentor, is not really talking much at all. So we'll see.
So someone said in the chat, Seftical said his birthday's coming up. Could it be possibly a birthday surprise?
I mean, it wouldn't shock me because the whole thing is kind of weird about, hearing so much pro Maryland stuff, and then all of a sudden he wants to delay, but it's very unclear why. And then there's these rumors that he wanted to come home to make his announcement, So I mean, those would lend credence to that being a possible theory, but I don't have any information saying that that's the case.
All right. Well, I know you got to go do your stuff. Thanks for joining. And just very thankful that our long national nightmare is over.
Now go beat Michigan, and then all of a sudden it'll be the quickest,
I
biggest 2-week turnaround in fan sentiment in sports history.
If they beat Michigan, all of a sudden they're 7-4, right back where everybody thought they probably would have been going into the Rutgers game, and all the negative stuff that's been said gets turned around with one more win.
Crazier things have happened. Not many, but
yeah.
All right, fellas.
Take care,
See you, Jeff.
Run.
See ya. And I think, Wheels, we could probably wrap it up now too. I'm not sure what else there's left to say. We talked through the game. We gave everybody a Derek Queen update.
Poor Jeff. He just looked tired. I mean, looked like he just come out of a cave. He's got a hat on. He's probably hasn't breathed any outside air in like 5
Well, listen,
days.
we watch the games. We're emotionally attached, and everybody gets angry about Maryland losing everything. And when I have this show, I don't know if you remember, we had the show for 4 years. I took a hiatus to deal with my kid, came back. So during the periods when I have the show, the games are very different for me because it's like, do you understand that the ratings for my show are being affected by this? You goddamn asshole! What are you doing? Make a shot! Stop doing an intercept. Like this.
And Jeff's whole business model.
Exactly.
A kid just wants to delay a week, and now Jeff's entire life is like.
I know. Like that's what I'm saying. For me, it's like it's there's this added pressure when I'm watching the games now, and intensity and anxiety watching the games. For Jeff, it's got to be absolute agony because his whole livelihood. So,
Well, dude, thanks for having me on, man. Always good to see you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, because I was like, we got to go. They're bowl eligible. And Paul had a shitty dinner to go to, and Jeff's like, I'm writing, man. But I kept bugging him. Once I said I got Suter and there was a Tar Heap sighting, he's like, okay, I'll be on.
Yeah. And then he got on. He was like, shit, it's just Tony and Larry. You know?
Yeah. I don't think people really know your first name, actually, because I just
you put it on there before.
Have I?
Had it on. Yeah, we've had it on there before.
I think I always say Wheels.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Tony Wheeler.
It's funny now because my son, all his friends call him Wheels. And
it's a cool nickname.
It gets a little confusing, you know, when you get, and his email address has Wheels in it, and so
does yours, by the way.
It does. So it gets a little confusing.
We won't say the actual thing on the air though. You want a lot of emails? Everybody want to flood? You're gonna have to change your email. When we want to flood Tony's email box, Wheels' email box.
But man, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, good vibes. God. Felt so good to win something after all just like beat down.
So Larry, if I mention a non-rev thing right now, is viewership going to plummet? Going to crater?
We don't have very many viewers anyway. So
second round field hockey. Maryland's playing UVA in the national quarters in College Park.
When?
Tomorrow on BTN. Yeah,
UVA
against UVA in College Park. So.
Who's Maryland the favorite?
Maryland beat them earlier in the season. So, and the game's in College Park. You got it. Maryland's the national 4 seed.
So they're 5.
Yes.
The bracket's the same as basketball.
Yeah, I think that's So they're
they'd be 5.
They got UVA tomorrow. So
okay. Well, I probably won't watch that, but I'm gonna be watching the Ravens.
I'll be sitting next to a lacrosse field tomorrow. My son's got his last fall lacrosse tournament, so we got to be out of the house at 5:45 a.m.
Well, I'm going to be down at Elon a number of times this year, and the lacrosse field is right next to where all my son's theater stuff happens.
Yeah.
So last year, his dorm was literally across the street, and we do something, and if I'm down on the weekends. Like there's sometimes I have to entertain myself because he's got to do whatever he's doing. And one time I walked out of the dorm right across the street, the women's lacrosse team was playing. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I watched. They played Old Dominion.
Yeah, their women's team is Division I. Their men's team is a club team down there. But their women's team.
And that happens a lot, not to turn this into a non-rev show, but I really would like more men's lacrosse. We need the SEC to sponsor it. That would change the entire.
Yeah.
Well, the Pac-12. Well,
the incoming Pac.
We're not going to get it. There'll be Big Ten teams, USC and UCLA both. Right. Anyway. Okay.
Well, USC, Oregon, and Washington have women's teams, I believe. I don't think UCLA has women's team.
Okay. Also, Utah has a Division I team.
They do.
So does Air Force, and so does Denver. So you got those 3 in the Mountain Time Zone. Maybe does the Big 12 start sponsoring lacrosse?
Be tough.
Yeah, you got those 3. You get Colorado.
I think it's more likely that a Division II team elevates, and there's a couple of Division II teams out in the Mountain West area.
But Big 12 should just do it. And the SEC and the Pac-12.
Let's make it simpler.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we did drop, actually. We did. We literally dropped. We were already low in numbers, and it still went down as soon as we started talking about it. Okay. All right. Let's go Terps. That's all I got to say.
Go Terps.
Everybody, Wednesday night at 7:30, Zymus Radio.